Welcome to my unfinished wood shop. Be working on that a little bit later, but today I'm going to take off all of these black parts on my jointer. Stuff like this and this and this, and I'm going to get all the rust off of them, and then I'm going to blue them. I moved this over here so you could see exactly how bad this is. Got a good deal of rust here. This was sitting in storage for 11 years and it got condensation on it over and over, and I've already restored the tables, so now I need to work on the parts that were once blued, get them all cleaned up and blue them again. Hopefully I can remember where everything goes, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so it's this, then a washer. Just making sure I know how to put it back together. Okay, so this little pin stops it from turning. And that goes right there. Get this all cleaned up too. And I'll polish these tables. For lack of a better word, I'm going to call these hinge pins. Two of them hold the fence on right here, and these two, that one and this one, hold this piece to this base part. And a washer between there. Just got to loosen that lock nut and then take these out with a screwdriver. Okay, that casting is done. Set that aside. Finish getting this off. Okay, this one's done as well. These are parts that I took off the other day. These right here are where two of these go into on another casting. Alright, this is the hinge pin for the knife guard, and this goes through the casting and holds it in place. Goes onto one of the flats here. So this one's a little bit different from these other ones. This just needs cleaning up. This will not get glued. Got a couple things on the front here. Alright, these were blackened as well, and they got a bit of rust on them, so may as well do those as well. Socket head cap screw with 3 washers behind it. I believe I'll take this off as well. And this is just a threaded piece of rod with a slotted end, and it has a nut on it to lock it in place. This is that little square-headed bolt. Goes on top of the fence mechanism. Take that apart so we can clean it. Take the rest of this apart. These washers are going to stay here. I'll buff that up and blue that as well. It's not blued now though. I'm going to throw these bearing caps in there as well. And the pulley. Leave that the way it is. Leave that the way it is. Hopefully I can get this all back together the way it came apart. Alright, I'm going to have to take that apart as well. And again, that is just threaded rod with looks like a socket head, and it had a stop nut on it. Same thing on this side. Oh, I dropped both of them. Holy shit. And we won't do these parts. I'm going to have to clean these threads off. They're kind of burred up. Okay, I think I'll just put new nuts on here for some of this stuff. Okay, this piece goes on there. Okay. Now I got to take this stuff off. See if I have the right size wrench. No, I don't. Alright, this part right here goes through there, and that's how the fence is connected. I think it goes about like this. Alright, let's see if we can get this stuff apart. This does not come off, but yeah, they got jam nuts on here, and this is kind of a jam nut here. Yeah, that will come off. Alright, that threaded into there. I'm going to have to do this by hand. I'll just hand sand these and then blue them. The rest of this stuff is going into a bath of rust remover. Alright, I should take these nuts off too. They're probably going to be frozen on there. These jam nuts are rusted on there. I'm going to let this soak in evaporust and see if I can break it loose after that. Alright, now I need something to get all of this stuff in. This stuff right here, this won't go in, this won't go in. And that won't go in. That won't go in. I think this is it right here. Okay, I got a little container here. Get my parts in there. And then cover them with evaporust. I don't want to get too much of this wood in there because you reuse the evaporust. I'll take these set screws out of there. Okay, now this stuff is going to sit for about 12 hours and then we'll get back at this. Okay, now for the bluing process. I buffed everything with number 0 steel wool. Let me show you that. But yesterday I blued this part here, this one here, and this one here, and then rebuffed them just to see how well buffing after you blew it. It says to do that on the instructions on this bluing. I've never done it before and I want to see how it works. So the rest of these have just been buffed with number 0 steel wool. And one thing to mention is that you don't want to dip your brush into the solution. Put the solution into some kind of a container and get it from there. This is, what is it, phosphoric acid and selenic acid and some other nasty stuff, so you don't want to get this in your eyes or on your hands. I mean, it's not that bad, but I definitely wouldn't want to get it in my eyes. Alright, a couple of these, like the pulley here, has a line on it. That's from when it sat in the evaporust and something was laying across it like that. Hopefully the bluing will cover that up. The bluing is basically a black rust. It's black iron oxide instead of red iron oxide. Alright. And it doesn't matter if I get it down into the shaft hole there, because this does not add material. It changes the material that's already there to black iron oxide, but the fit is going to be just the same, so I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, this is about the oddest shaped part that I got. What you want to do is get this on and let it sit for a minute or so and then wipe it off, but I'm going to let it sit for longer than that, because basically you're just wasting this stuff if you wipe it off early. Okay, these all have at least a single coating of cold bluing on them. This one has 2, and this one has 2, and then these were just buffed with single-aught steel wool. Like this one, this had a single coat on, or is it this one? Kind of hard to tell. One of these had a coat on already. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a second coat on some of the bigger parts, like this one, the pulley. I'm actually missing one of these bearing mounts. I'll have to find that and get a second coat on that as well. I'm just going to do the bigger parts, like the washers and stuff. I buffed these out and they're nice and blued. Should be good. Yeah, and then the next step on these is to soak them in oil overnight. And I think I'll do that right in here. Just use motor oil. I've seen other people doing this and they used vegetable oil, but that's not a good idea. Vegetable oil will go rancid after a while and start stinking. No way I'm using vegetable oil. I'll just use motor oil, and then once I buff that out, I can put the machine back together. Okay, I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible because this has taken the entire day. I had to run to town to get the steel wool. I haven't used steel wool in ages, and I have a lot of other things to do. Okay, now I'm going to oil these. Pour a little bit of oil in here and get some on these parts. And then I'll wipe these down. Tomorrow, this was just a half a quart of oil that I had out in the garage, and it lost its label, so I wasn't exactly sure what weight it is, but that really doesn't matter for this, so it's good use for it. Alright, I am going to let these soak for a while, and then wipe them down, and then we can start putting the machine back together. And there you have it. I have everything soaking in oil, and I'll pull all this stuff out of here tomorrow and get the oil off of it, and then it will all look like this, a nice blued part. Some of these I'll probably wax before I put them back on the machine, the ones that get more wear, and some of them I won't. But I will be putting these all back on the machine when I put the Helix cutter head on there. I'll put the whole machine back together and clean it up and get that out of the tent out there so I can move the planer in. So make sure you stop back to see that.